Ready? All right. Welcome to the August 1st, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. Please silence your cell phones and pagers and other electronic communication devices. Agendas and speaker request forms are located at the back of the chambers. The commission now utilize the speaker request forms. If you would like to speak on any item, please complete the speaker request form located at the bookshelves the back of the chambers and return them to the commission manager, Holly Hennies, located at the lower right side of the dais. At this time, we're going to do the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Deb Hadcock.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hadcock. Next is review and approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Drews and seconded by Laster to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any public comment?
Yes, I thought we were, Commissioner Chair, I thought we were moving one of the items on here for more, number 13. For more information, I know Joe is looking up some of the information, would like it be brought back August 15th, I think, if I'm correct.
I didn't catch that, Ms. Hadcock. Or that item, we can continue at that when it comes up? Is that what you're trying to say, or?
Well, I thought we were pulling it off today to look up more information. Commissioner Drews, isn't that what you talked with?
Yeah, Joe asked if we would pull it for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks? Do you want to do that or wait till it comes up and continue it till the next commission meeting?
We can just continue it.
For me, and I guess I don't understand it was on the agenda in the first place. If you want to visit with it, the act, what we found when he did the information and looked it up was not what he thought it was. So a lot of the stuff that was on that number 13 was already happening in Pennington County and wasn't going to affect Pennington County. So just food for thought for continuing or letting them bring it back if it needs to be.
I'd probably recommend just when it comes up, we continue it for 2 weeks for the clarification with Joe. And
okay.
So
I guess I talked to Joe and him and Gary had talked about it. They were going to pull it, but I guess we're not doing that now. So go ahead and continue it.
Okay. Okay. So any other changes or requests from the agenda? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, this brings us to the consent agenda. And I'll recognize Ms. Holly Hennies.
Good morning, Commissioners. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items are removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of July 18th, 2023. And number 6 is to declare tax deed ID number 7908 as surplus property for the purpose of selling at the tax deed auction, which is scheduled for 10 a.m. on Thursday, August 17th, 2023.
Thank you, Holly. At this time, is there any member of the public who wishes to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any commissioner who would like to have any item removed? Seeing none, is there any comment? Public? Seeing none, I would look for a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drews.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's moved by Drews.
Second.
Seconded by Roskinick. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. This brings us to item number 7, items from ESCC Fire Administration 10. Art, Jerome, or both. Tag team.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jerome Harvey, Fire Administrator, Pennington County, South Dakota. Of course, indomitable Ted here,
Ted
Mr. Radio.
Rufflet, 911 dispatch.
So,
Good morning.
We do have been moving forward, thanks to Ted, on our northern part of the county communications project. And we continue to work on the Creighton section. We are doing some work in the eventually on Sage Creek to make all of this work. But right now, we do have the bids we talked about July 5th, and went out for sealed bids. All the legal stuff has been taken care of. Any technical questions, Ted can answer those for you. And we do have a low bid. It is an outfit that the county has done business with before. And Sioux Falls Tower, also known as Vicor, they have a new name now, $122,450 and $48, and we have a suggested motion if you need that.
Ted, you have any comment?
No, we've worked with them, and I went over the bid spec and the project with them, and they're good to go. They're ready to go. And we had good interest in this project. They had a good bid process. So we'd recommend awarding the bid to that company, and they're ready to get started.
It's a good bid, too.
It is a good bid.
Is there any questions for Jerome or Ted from the commission? Being none, is there any public comment on it? I go to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roskinek.
move to award the Creighton Radio Tower project to the lowest responsible bidder, Sioux Falls Tower Specialist Inc., doing business as Victor, in the amount of $120,450.48.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Lassiter. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next, that brings us to item number 8, items from the sheriff, and I'll recognize Brian Mueller, Sheriff Mueller.
Good morning, Commission. Brian Mueller, Pennington County Sheriff. Here before you today to ask for a wage increase for our corrections staff, our sworn law enforcement staff, and our detox technicians. I went over this in quite a bit of detail in my budget presentation, and I let you know I'd separate this out as a separate request and come back. What I'm asking for today is already part of your provisional budget for 2024. This is the piece that I'd ask for the increase to take effect the beginning of the pay period, the end of September, for a 2% increase for sworn law enforcement staff, 2% increase for sworn corrections staff, and then a reclassification of our detox technicians to get them closer to the market pay of $20 an hour. And I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drews.
So how many employees are you down at this point in time, Brian, in these various categories?
Law enforcement, our positions are pretty close to full. We have a couple of hiring classes this fall that'll bring us to full on those, but our correction staff, we're down 15 with 11 in training today. And they're continuing to be recruited pretty heavily by area law enforcement. I think the Box Elder Police Department alone has hired 4 correctional officers since the first of the year, with 2 more in backgrounds with them. And so we're just trying to get a little bit more competitive with pay, and then working on some, work conditions right now, because a lot of our staff are leaving because of the forced overtime at the jail.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Lester.
I have a question for you. When you say you're down 15 and you have 11 in training, is that 11 whenever they're all done, then you'll be down 4? Or is that 11 are in training and you still have 15 open slots? Just so I make sure I'm
11 in training, and when they're trained, we'll have 15 open slots.
still, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And you did go over this in your budget, in the budget process, and so this is broken out into 3 motions for the commission. Is there any further questions for Brian? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion on it. The first one of apply the 2% increase to all deputies, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and chiefs, deputy positions on their current pay scale effective September 17th of 2023.
Make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Drews,
Second.
seconded by Roskinek. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion number two, or item number two, would be to move all correctional officers, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and commanders to the law enforcement pay scale at their current wage and apply a 2% increase to their position effective September 17th, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Drews. Is there any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number three on this would be move the Detox Tech 1 position to a B22 and the Detox Tech 2 position to a B23 effective September 17th, 2023, and to update the position listing on file.
Move to approve.
Moved by Roskinek,
Second.
seconded by Drews. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
That brings us to items from equalization. I do not see Shannon out there. This is pretty standard abatements.
Mr. Chair, I looked at each one of those abatements and the reason they suggested the abatements, and they all looked pretty cut and dry and legitimate and supported by Shannon's explanations.
I agree. I went through them but also. Does anybody have any questions on these from the commission? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the abatement application for tax year 2022 for the following parcels. Secretary of Housing, parcel 1017, $1,316.84. Douglas Berry, parcel 58356, $1,725.94. And for Dean J. Thompson, parcel 71359, $1,442.00. And Marine and Gary Gold, parcel 9257, $1,725.54.
I make that as a motion, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Drews,
Second.
seconded by Roskinek. Is there any discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we come to item number, we're pretty close to 9:15.
Can we just move on to 11, take the highway department?
Yeah, we'll do that. Is the commission okay with skipping 10 for right now, do an item 11, then come back with 9:15 public
Yeah,
hearing?
that's good.
I concur.
Okay, so
Good morning, Commission. Sean Smith, Highway Department. So item A is request for approval for the South Dakota VW rebate agreement. We came to you in June with an application for the VW rebate for truck purchases. We were successful in our application, so the 35% grant comes in at an amount of $99,902.25. It's an increase from last year because we found out that we were eligible to include accessories for the trucks. In the past, we just done the bare truck. This year, we put in an application that included our hydraulics, our dump bed, our plow, and our wing. So we were successful with that. So
they added that in there?
they did.
They
Yep.
did, good.
So, with that, I'll stand for any questions.
So part of that requirement is the truck that it's replacing gets recycled, correct?
Yep. We have to drill the engine and take it over to Pacific Steel, and yep.
Okay. Is there any questions for Sean?
No, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Laster?
Move to approve the South Dakota VW truck program rebate agreement.
Moved by Lassiter,
Second.
seconded by Roskinek. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sean, I think we're going, because you got quite a few left.
Yep.
We're going to go back to Scott Guffey. It's 9:15 for the public hearing, then I'll call you back up.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Sean. Next, we'll be taking up item number 10, the 9:15 public hearing for the Title III public input on proposed projects. And I'll recognize Director Scott Guffey, the Natural Resource Director.
Morning,
Scott.
Commissioner. Scott Guffey, Pennington County Natural Resource Director. This is the time that we take public comments for the expenditure of our Title III funds. We have advertised for 45 days in the legal newspapers. At this time, just see if there's any, I don't know if there's been any written comments, there generally isn't, or if there's any public comments from the public.
Thank you, Scott. At this time, I didn't see any written. Is there any public comment on the Title III public input, proposed projects? I don't see any from the public. So this is your recommendation.
Yeah, we generally split that funding out between fire, natural resource, and search and rescue. Fire or search and rescue, if they're responding to a fire on the national forest, they can use these funds, and then we utilize it for doing our fuel breaks along the county roads.
Thanks, Scott. And the motion should be moved to take public input, written or verbal, at 9:15, which it is, August 1st, 2023, on Pennington County's use of the Title III funds for the following proposed projects: wildland firefighter equipment and training, increase the protection of people and property from wildfire, emergency response equipment, our vehicles, search and rescue response, and training, and other emergency services as follows by the Secure Rural and Self-Training and other Self-Determination Act of 2000 and 2008. The total estimated cost of these projects will be $29,466.08.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
those would be for
Roski.
2024 projects.
Yeah, so we'll spend them in 2024, and they're in our budget for 2024.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Laster. Is there any further public comment? Any further from the commission? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Sean, we're back to item 11B, which is the purchase of road salt.
Okay. Sean Smith, Pennington County Highway Department. So, yeah, item B, we're looking for authorization to purchase our road salt off the state contract for the Rapid City and Wall area this year. Nebraska Salt and Grain was awarded by the DOT. I've reached out to them, and they are willing to honor that contract, Pennington County as well. The bid price came in at $98.87 per ton. That's a $10.42 increase from last year. So, I guess with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Is there any questions from
Sure.
Mr. Drews?
So is this the same place where we got it from last year?
No, last year Blackstrap
Okay.
had the contract.
Okay, so I presume we need to haul this.
They haul it to
They do?
they haul it to our Rapid City yard.
Okay,
Yep, and this is what we mix in with our sand that we put on the roads for winter time.
okay, thank you.
Is there any further questions from the commission? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion. Mr. Roskinek.
Move to authorize Highway Department to purchase road salt from Nebraska Salt and Grain, Grothenburg, Nebraska, off the state of South Dakota contract 17796.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, which is the award recommendation for 2023 bridge rehabilitation.
Yep, we just recently opened our bids, and JV Bailey and Company was the low bidder at $890,097.40. They actually came in $211,000 under the engineer's estimate, so that was good to see. Two of those bridges, Reservoir Road and Thunderhead Falls, were bridge improvement grant selected, so Pennington County is only obligated to 20% of that cost. The third bridge, Norris Peak Road, was not selected in the bridge improvement grant program, but we did budget accordingly to be able to do that bridge because it's in poor condition and needs some fixing. So We did budget for that, so 2 of the 3 are bridge improvement grants. The grant totals for that, come to $453,958.32. And then the 20% that we have, also with the Norris Peak, Pennington County's portion of these 3 bridges is $436,139.08. So with that, I'll stand for any
Mr.
questions.
Chair,
Mr.
on the one on Norris Peak Road, can you give me an overview of what's going to get done to that bridge and when that's going to get done? Just out of curiosity.
We have, yeah, as soon as, if this is authorized, we'll have a pre-construction meeting with JV Bailey and we'll get a schedule from them. But most of the construction was set up to be done next year. To be able to allow with the way the scheduling and everything goes with the big program, it doesn't quite give us enough time to do it in this current construction season. So to get better prices, we allow for a full year into next year to be able to complete that. So it'll be sometime next year. But they're going to pull all the deck units off and replace the deck and the railings.
So how long do you figure that will be closed, Norris Peak Road from 44 to Nemo?
Speculating if I mean, just kind of a comparison, the one on neck yoke that was done this year took about a week.
Okay.
So I would say a week to 2 weeks.
I think that bridge was built in 73, 74.
Yep, and that's if they do a full closure. They may select to keep a lane open. I don't know offhand if there's 7 deck units, they're probably gonna have to do a full closure. If there's 8, that leaves them enough room to do half at a time and continue flow of traffic through there, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Drew.
I'd make a motion to award the 2023 bridge rehabilitation to JV Bailey Company of Rapid City in the amount of $890,097.40, contingent upon the South Dakota Department of Transportation's concurrence for bridges 52-316-317 and 52-460-329.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded by Roskinek. Is there any further discussion or questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item D, Sean, Black Hills National Forest, South Rockerville Road right-of-way fencing agreement.
Yep, so the Forest Service had approached us and said they were gonna have some money to allocate towards fencing. Currently South Rockerville Road is open range for cattle. We've got 3 cattle guards on South Rockerville Road. So with this, they would be able to fence that right away and get cattle off the road. We could pull those 3 cattle guards and remove the maintenance cost from those. Forest Service has authorization to reimburse Pennington County up to $140,000 for this project. So we'll secure the materials and let the project and award it to a contractor. This has also been set up with Natural Resources that Scott Guffey will be doing a shaded fuel break for this project to help with the trees as well. So I guess with that, I'll stand for any questions.
It's got dual purposes.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Drews.
So, Sean, do you think this can all be completed within that $140,000 range?
It'll be close. I don't know. The Rochford Road project, South Rochford Road project was 200 and I just saw the final. I'm drawing a blank on the final. It was $290,000 on that project, and that was for 12 miles. I don't know offhand how the distance on this one currently.
Okay.
I would venture to guess it'll go over the $140,000.
Okay. No idea how much it might go.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Any further questions for Sean? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the agreement 23-CS-11-020-300-046 with Black Hills National Forest for the South Rockerville Road right-of-way fencing.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Commissioner Drews.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lassiter. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next brings us to item E, which is the local federal bridge program resolution 2023-08-01-1 and 2023-08-01-2. Sean.
So item E is the local federal bridge program. This is similar to the big program, but this is at the federal level. We've had kind of a quick turnaround on this. They just kind of gave us the guidelines and everything in July here, and the application's due today. So we are going after 7 bridges for this. They just changed this year that anything non-federal aid is eligible and is eligible at 100% coverage from the federal government. Those that are federal aid are in 81.95% covered by the federal government, 12.71 by the state DOT, and then the county is responsible for 5.34% of that overall cost. We're applying for 7 bridges, 1 on Slate Prairie, 2 on Thunderhead Falls, 1 on 159th, 1 on 233rd, 1 on Mystic Road, and 1 on Country Road. The Mystic and the Country Road are the only 2 that are considered federal aid, so those would be the only ones where the county would be responsible for that 5% match. The other 5 are non-federal aid, so they would be 100% covered if they're selected.
Wow.
So
That's good that you guys found this and were able to put in for it. So it's still not guaranteed. This is still just getting
this
sent
is
in.
just to submit the application. So far, the last go-around, we had 2 bridges selected. I think we applied for 5. We had 2 of the 5 selected.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. So
Mr.
I think we were in Pier when they voted on that, and so it was the way that the application was put in, refurbished or.
Yep.
So I think we learned a lesson how we apply in that application. We'll probably have better, am I on the right track there?
You are, that was more for the big program.
Okay.
Where they, some
Okay.
of ours we put them in for preservation, and because of how it was done, they got moved over to the replacement. But yes, we did.
Okay.
We did learn, but yes, it is similar in nature. I mean, they follow the same guidelines as the big, so that did help us with this process.
Thank you.
Yep.
With that, is there any further questions for Sean? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the local federal bridge program resolution 2023-0801-1 and 2023-08-01-2. Authorize the submission of local federal bridge grant applications.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Mr. Drews,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Laster. Any further discussion? Any comment? Public comment? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ron. Next, this brings us up to items from Compensation Committee, and I'll recognize Director Carol Bancroft.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Bancroft, HR Director for Pennington County. The Compensation Committee met to discuss the Policy 3.18 out-of-class pay, and the current policy is rather vague and doesn't differentiate the treatment between exempt and non-exempt employees. And so the recommendation is to actually define better to make sure that we have consistency in how it is treated as far as what the actual compensation level would be for each of the different assignments. And that would be for the non-exempt employees. And then for the exempt employees, that we would leverage the promotions policy for when they do step into that role of the higher grade or greater responsibility. And then once that assignment was completed, then they would go back to their current role prior to the promotion. Another aspect of the difference between the 2 policies is the current policy, the last bullet item. It does require bringing before the Board of Commissioners to approve any new out-of-class pay or field training officer policies and rate. And that is something, it's already built into the policy as revised, that if we receive approval for this, that then it is approved already based on the criteria that's within the policy. So no need for that particular bullet. So adopting the provision revisions to policy 3.18 compensation administration for the out-of-class pay section is the recommendation of the compensation committee, and as such cannot be acted on until the following meeting.
So this is the first hearing and presenting it to the commission, just to make them aware, and we'll take action next meeting.
Correct.
Is there any questions for Carol from the commission? Any from the public? Seeing none. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome. So the next item is the wage study update for the commission as far as what the compensation committee has been working on. And I'd like to invite Sandy Sortland, our HR generalist for Pennington County. She is also serving as the chair of the communications subcommittee within the compensation committee, and she'll give you the update.
Thank you, Carol.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sandy Sortland, HR Generalist for Pennington County. So as you know, the Compensation Committee has been working on a wage study project, and it's going to be a basic restructure of our current wage scale and our job descriptions. As a committee, we decided it would be best if we broke it down into smaller subcommittees so that each of us could focus on what we do best. So this is an update of what those subcommittees have been working on. The Compensation Committee has been working diligently on the wage scale restructure project started in January of 2023. Each of the 5 subcommittees have submitted the specific updates. The Market Analysis and Wage Scale Committee has completed a comparable employers list that is specific to each department to assist with the wage study. We've obtained Lightcast software licenses, and critical departments have access to that to be able to do research. We've updated the out-of-class pay policy. The draft is being considered at this meeting. The current focus for that subcommittee is the wage scale design, a compensation philosophy, so that we can make sure that we are accomplishing our goals with our new wage scale, and then a job description review and revisions to a new format by all departments with the assistance of HR. These are due August 31st of 2023 to HR, and then we will review those job descriptions from September to December of this year, with a target completion date in December of this year. The Benefits Committee has, we have a countywide benefits fair that's starting tomorrow. We're very excited. It will actually be here in the commission chambers. And the highlights of that is going to be one-on-one meetings with SDRS retirement planners. This particular item filled up so fast, we actually had to ask them for more slots. So we're very excited our employees are taking advantage of that. Wellmark will be giving presentations on Medicare 101, which is also open to spouses, parents, and grandparents of employees if they'd like to come and learn about Medicare. And then also consumer-driven healthcare sessions. Consumer-driven healthcare is basically teaching our insurance members to pay more attention to what they're spending on their healthcare and where we can get the best bang for the buck when you're looking for your healthcare and prescriptions. Booths will be manned by our insurance carriers as well as local businesses, and we're going to focus on all aspects of wellness. Communications, that's me, and we have the benefits fair announcements and sign-up information has been going out to all employees for the last few weeks. I would say probably 3 to 4 weeks we've been working on that. And then today's update to you. The budget subcommittee does not have any updates at this time. We expect more information from them once we get closer to actually structuring the wage scale and launching it. And then training, we did have Lightcast training provided to all licensed users in May of 2023. There's no action required on this item.
Well, thanks, Sandy. That was a very good report. Is there any questions, Ms. Hadcock?
So I know we lost 187 employees in '22. Did we look at the reasoning why? I know 23 retired, but did we look at ages, longevity, that kind of thing? I kind of like to see that report on, some of those areas, just to see where we're moving forward on this compensation wage study, because I think it's going to make a huge difference in the future when you're looking at reasons for people leaving. Is it their ages? Is it, like you said, 23, or what was put on the paper last time, 23 retired? What was the longevity? Were they here 2 to 3 years? Were they here 6 weeks? Were they here? It'd be kind of nice to know that. So if we could have that report or just email me, I know I would like to see it. I don't know if the board would, but I think it'd make a difference for some of the compensation wage study areas that you're studying today. So if we could.
Sandy, you can look at those.
We do track quite a bit of that exit data. Some of those other pieces we'll have to enter into what we consider our exit log, but I'm sure we can gather that data.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have names on it.
Right.
It's just kind of like studies they do around, I know, what's it called? I'm having a brain fart today. Elevate, they study some of that, but it'd be nice through the county to do some of that, why people are leaving, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to, like I said, names or the area or what, of which they left. It'd be just kind of nice to know the age, the longevity, and some of the other descriptions that they put on theirs when they're studying why people are not staying at their jobs. So, I thank you.
Well, thank you. Are there any further questions for Sandy? Seeing none. Thanks for the report, Sandy. It was very detailed.
Thank you.
Item number 13, the proposed letter of opposition, and I'll recognize Mr. Drews.
Mr. Chair, I would ask for a continuance, make that motion of the proposed letter of opposition to HR 471 Ship It Act. And that's my motion.
Continue to the second meeting in, what's the date on that, this month?
15th.
The 15th?
August
of
15th.
August 15th.
Chair.
Motion was made, and there was a second by Laster. Ms. Hadcock.
Why I have some issues with this is, number one, Dusty Johnson brought this forward. Number two, 95% of our suppliers are trucks. So I think he's trying to make a difference for that. Number two, some of the wording on this was from Teamsters. If you read it, when I looked up the Teamsters that were opposing this, they're the ones that made the comment, which I also,
This is a continuation motion.
yeah, but I'm just saying, this is why I had talked to Joe yesterday about this, because us saying longer and heavier trucks have been long proven to be involved in greater frequency and severity of crashes is not something that has been proven. It has something, when I looked it up, it was a Teamster quote. Did we look up here's my issue with putting this back on. And the other thing, I called some of the trucking companies, they knew nothing about that we were putting this on the agenda. So I think when we're doing some of these things, we need to look at both sides. Also with the 150-mile radius with the ag, how far, and they say help ensure drivers to do not drive while fatigued and put all roadway users at risk. We're talking 150-mile radius for ag community. So some of this stuff on here, and then going against Dusty Johnson, I think maybe if he can have a representative here to speak on this, and some of the truck drivers that are in town, because I took a class on this with at our South Dakota, association, and it wasn't the axle and how many wheels it was where the weight was distributed on the roads. And the other thing is we already have 6-axle trucks on the interstate already in South Dakota. So I'm trying to figure out what this means because it's not making any sense.
Well, this is a continuation motion, so they can gather some more information.
Well,
And
I'm
this-
saying that.
This does help bring it to light for public to look at it and be able to come back and make comment also.
Well, it also, we are the ones that wrote this on a piece of paper, quoting Teamsters and other people. That's not fact. So I'm just saying, when we're going to write something, I think we should write it based on fact and not just get quotes off the internet off people. So for me to represent something like that, let alone go against a Dusty Johnson who brought this forward in the House of Representatives, just because people oppose it in other counties doesn't mean Pennington County has to, when we need to find more facts.
Okay. This is a continuation motion. Any further discussion on the continuation? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Next, it brings us to item number 14, and this is a request to support of hosting of the EPA-E Ellsworth Air Force Base PFOA Town Hall meeting. Commissioner Laster.
Yeah, this is a request. This would be the third year if the board is open to doing this, having our community town hall with the EPA, SDANR, SEDITA, here at the county. The current proposed date is Thursday, March 28th of 2024, and I'm just seeking support for us to be able to hold that continued open town hall meeting, which is supported by the base for this open communication and a great opportunity to hear any updates about what's going on and hear back from the public.
Is there any questions from Mr. Laster? I have one comment. Travis, I didn't remember seeing this when the first town hall meeting was done. I remember with the request, and I thought there was a commissioner request that we wouldn't use the Pennington County logo on it. And when I read this, it looks like this is, I know from your experience of bringing it to the commission, I read this and see it's something that you're bringing up. But for anybody out in the public, this would look like something Pennington County is doing or supporting. And at the last meeting, I brought up, there is some lawsuits going on with this, and even multi-lawsuit or class actions are out there. And it just brings me to question, is that something the county should be, it looks like we're supporting. At these meetings, do these lawsuits get discussed? And
No, this is us hosting the town hall here in a public forum so that these agencies can come in and have a conversation with the community here in a larger area. That's really what it comes down to. We've done it for 2 years in a row as we're hosting it. We've put it out there, we're hosting it. In fact, I thought it said on here, yeah, it says hosted by Pennington County,
yeah,
not
it
that we're
does.
on one side or the other. It's that we are hosting it so that the community can get the information by all the entities. We have the capability for the Zoom ins or whatever that's required from some of the agencies that can't travel to be here. And so it just makes it as a good opportunity. It's impacting our community. It's impacting the whole District 4 of our county.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense that we'd be a part of hosting something of this nature to get that information and to hear what's going on from the base, since the base is in District 4 and it's doing mitigation and doing the water line for the citizens that are impacted by it. So I think it's appropriate for the county to be a part of at least hosting the information.
Okay. So you are given the information of what's happening with the proposed new water line, and the base is going to be here to address some questions.
Yep, typically that's what we've had each year, and then different things in different areas of focus depending on what's going on.
Because, yeah, I just, and I brought it up to your attention, that class action lawsuit, and those are just some of the concerns that I had, but you explained it well. So is there any other questions from commissioners for Mr. Laster?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question since you brought up the class action lawsuit. Should we visit with our legal team and have them look into that and see what it would take for us to be a part of that, if that's something we wanted to agree and move forward with as far as the county, since it's impacted the county?
I think,
Jay, maybe Jay
hold
can
on, I
answer
got
it.
the floor.
We know.
I
but
think
Jay
we
probably
need
knows.
to think that a little bit. I think you visit with some staff afterwards.
Sure.
But Ms. Hagdon.
Jay, can you come up and maybe answer some of this stuff, just in case? I understand where Travis is going and what Lloyd's trying to do, but is there an issue with us hosting this? And then Travis can bring his other stuff that he's talking about later.
Jay Alderman with the State's Attorney's Office. I don't see any issue with hosting something because you're not taking a stance, a
Right.
policy stance, or putting your support behind one side of an issue or the other. So I don't see any issue with that. In fact, it's probably a good idea to get everybody together, and this happens to be a decent place with the ability to do that. So as far as class action, I know nothing about the class action. I couldn't answer any questions for you specifically on that, or one way or another if the county can even join at this point or would want to join at this point. I don't know what the issues are.
So Jay, in that point, I needed to know the clarification on his town hall meeting. I didn't see there was a problem either, but need to hear from our legal team. And number two, Travis can talk to you on the other part of it later and see, if it's something we need to. You've been good advice in the past, so that can always come up later, but I understand Mr. Laster has a passion for this and wants to protect people and doesn't want people to have issues in his district, so thank you for your advice, Jay, today.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted some clarification, Travis. So is there any further questions?
Mr. Chair, so on the motion, as written here, do we want to add, that we consult our legal team just to make sure that we're,
You just
not
did.
taking on any
No,
liability?
I think you can move to host the community meeting with all the people as it's written. But I think Mr. Laster can visit with legal afterwards and they can
Okay,
find a way to present that.
So, Mr. Chair, move to continue hosting the community town hall meetings regarding the Ellsworth Air Force Base PFOS/PFOA activities.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Hadcock. Is there any public comment? Any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, that brings us up to item 15, approval of the vouchers.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Drews.
I'd move to approve the vouchers in the amount of $688,770.58.
second.
Moved by Drews and seconded by Roskinek. Is there, excuse me, any public comment? Any further comment from the commission? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, that brings us up to items from the public, and I'll just read this for the public's sake. This is a speaker request form is required, and I have none, but public comment is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the public of the board, to the Board of Commission on policies and issues affecting the county government and its function. Action will not be taken during this time, and any issue brought forth that are not properly noticed. Speakers under this item will be recorded in the minutes by name and area of interest. And I have no speaker request forms unless we have somebody out there. Seeing none, we need to take a look at our agenda. We're moving along pretty fast today. We cannot do the Board of Adjustments till 10:30. And is the commission okay with skipping over and going to items 18, which is items from chair and commission members, and item 19, meeting committee reports?
That'd be fine.
Seeing no requests, so we'll move to item 18. This is items from chair and commission members. It's a time for individual members to bring forth ideas or concerns to the full board. Official actions will not be taken on any items brought forth at this time. Direction may be given to bring items back before the board for future consideration. Is there any commissioner who has anything they'd like to bring up? Seeing none. I'd go to committee reports, and I'll go to Travis Lassiter.
So, whereas at the summer study with the Secretary of State, it was a pretty conversational second meeting. We have only one meeting to go, so we'll have a draft to discuss before that meeting for the post-election audit. summer study that the Secretary of State's office is doing. Really, we're just staying really tight to trying to break down and draft legislation for how the rules are supposed to go for doing the post-election audit, having the Secretary of State's office pay for it, and how that's going to work out. So the biggest update will be after the next meeting, because then we'll have something to kind of tangibly talk about of what's been suggested solidly and what is going to move forward. So I don't have any significant updates other than that.
Thanks, Travis. Mr. Drews.
Okay, so July 20th, 24, I attended the NACO conference in Austin, Texas. There were 650 counties represented out of the total 3,069 in the country, represented from the 50 states. Friday, I spent most of the day at the Transportation Policy Steering Committee. One of the items discussed was the proposed legislation in Congress currently on heavier and longer trucks on our roadways. We plan to have this on our agenda for August 15th, as Highway Superintendent Joe Miller is doing some further investigation as to how this legislation could impact our local roads. I leave one thought with the commissioners on this subject. Congress has never provided sufficient funding to take care of current size and weight of trucks, and I don't see anything in this new proposal to provide additional funds to counties or others to take care of the aging infrastructure. NACO has met with success in cutting some of the red tape of rules and regulations to help streamline the federal permitting process. As we know, some of these funds flow directly to the states now and then made available to local government, which allows us to request and work with the state on funding issues rather than needing to make contact at the federal level. Housing affordability seminar was interesting. Regulations were listed as one of the primary reasons for increased cost and limitations, and because neighbors do not want development in their backyard. Considerable discussion by panelists indicated they were pushing harder for multiple family housing. This is primarily in urban areas in order to meet the demands of the housing shortage. I also attended seminars on workforce development, mental health crisis, rural action caucus on issues in rural states, our regional states caucus, and the general session. We elected J.D. Clark of Chico, Texas, as the second vice president of the national organization. His county, Wise County, has a population of about 76,000. Commissioner LaCroix and I also visited a nonprofit homeless community that has been in existence for 25 years on the edge of Austin. A very interesting concept of utilizing tiny houses with rents ranging from $350 to $550 a month. Most of these people spent 9 years homeless but desire to improve their lives. 87% of the original occupants remain in this housing, currently have about 550 units, expanding to build another 1,600 units. Approximately 100 churches in the area assist in supporting this community. I appreciated the opportunity to join Commissioner LaCroix in attending this conference representing Pennington County. July 28th, I attended the President Rankin's meeting on the state of the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. Last year, 39% of the graduates remained in South Dakota. President Rankin said simply not enough jobs in South Dakota for their degree area. One of the projects being worked on is development of a water filtration system designed to replace septic tanks. Hope to expand the Cervex Center, as originally designed dining area, only holds about 1,000 and currently about 2,500 students at the campus. President Rankin also recognized Black Hills Energy and Neil Schlotman, owner of Seco Construction, for their continued support at the school. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Drews. Joan, do you have those? I took some pictures and asked if staff could show you, because I think pictures speak louder than words for the mobile workshop. It was the mobile, First Village mobile tour that was there. And so it was actually pretty surprising with these properties. I think that's where the mailboxes were, and you can see a few of the housings on there. This is one of the homes, and I believe this one is probably these housings in this housing area were designed, not everything's a cookie cutter placement. Each one's different. They even did some housing with 3D printers with concrete. We'll see that later on. But so what happens with this property is you see that there is, you can't imagine a bathroom or any facilities in there. And these ones don't have it. And all they are is a sleeping quarters with maybe a refrigerator and sink, but no bathrooms. They have those within 150 feet of some of these facilities. So the next one. You can see some of these look like park models. What they do is they use some of those for tenants that need the special needs. Those ones have the bathrooms and facilities, but those are usually people that need the special assistance, and they have to apply for those and go through rigorous application. And as you can see, it's got street and gutters in this whole community. And some more of the park model types. And this was the inside of that one small one you seen with the deck up on top. As you can see where that person's standing, that's where the bedroom is. There's a little hallway, and there's a little dining room area. What they do also have on this property is what they call the living room. So people that are in this community, the family comes in, they have a place where they can visit and sit, and they have pool and all that, some facilities for gathering. And now, see, these properties here are the 3D concrete buildings that they've done. These here were, they got a special rate from the company that was doing them because the company was learning as they were going. So what they did is they came up, that's why you see some different designs on these, is because the company that was doing these was also doing practices on how to do it and what works and what doesn't. So that's how you can come to see that. Again, that's just the center there. Inside that center, that's what they call a theater room for people if they want, they can relax, watch a movie. And then next ones, they have a rec room, the pool, and that's the outside area, and you see those 3D housings on the back. And then some more housing. This here is for those units that do not have bathroom facilities in them. What they do is they have, within 120 feet, they have a bathroom facility with locking doors, so the tenants can go use the bathroom, shower, all that type of stuff in these facilities. And then they have, of course, it's Texas, so everything's outdoors. This is a place where they can come and cook their food that they need it and so forth. And that wasn't enclosed, that's all outside. And then this is another part of the community where they grow their own food. They have a market and so forth for the clients there. I shouldn't say clients, tenants. But then they have a hub, and this is where the services are, where they come to get their, see what the needs are and so forth. They do an assessment and find out what, they try to help them with their Social Security, whatever else is they need to set up bank accounts and so forth. As Mr. Drew said, these properties, the tenants either, the lowest paid one was $350, which is probably that tiny small one without the facilities in it, and the upper one was $550. And the tenants are required to make payment. If they can't afford it, then they go to that hub and they find ways to work to make their payment. Some people will be cleaning in the area, doing landscaping, they work in the garden, they do work in different areas of the campus, but that's how they pay their rent. And this here was like the grocery facility. They do have people that, nonprofits that come in, and it's a little market that they can go into. And this, again, is just some more examples of the smaller homes. like I said, you'd be really surprised how small these are and how designed differently that they are. I think is that the last one. You know, one of the things that they brought up with this when this first started up, we had some good conversations with the people, was they were right next to a 40-acre deal right next to some residents, and so there was discussions on being so close to residential and how it would work. You know, this kind of started out, from my understanding from the gentleman, was as a church response. It was a company, a church response that went out and did a food truck in the community. And the whole idea was to find a place for these people and give them the assistance they need. And they followed through with the work with them as far as keeping them either employed, transportation, anything that they need. They've got quite a bit of the social work there. But they had some struggles with it. And it started out with campers is how it originally started out, something like a campground. So as you've seen from some of the pictures, it is a community, and they do have other people that work in the place 24/7 that also live there, so at a discounted rate. It's kind of a unique situation. I think there's more information to gather. I think that second phase that they were talking about doing is that they had the money raised for, you were talking like $200 million for the second phase, in which they've got the donations to do that. So that was the highlight of that one. Just to piggyback off of Gary's, this conference I felt was probably one of the most highest productive ones I've seen in quite a while. I mean, Saturday and Sunday and Monday, we were going from 8:30 to 5:30 to 7 at night, one meeting after the other. As Gary said, I went on Friday alone. My flights were delayed, but I got there about 3, got in and registered and checked out the convention center because it was a big convention center. To get from one side to the other, you had to know where you were going because you only had 10, 15 minutes in between sessions to get where you're going, and there was 4 floors. So that wasn't quite enough time sometimes. But on Saturday, I attended the reskilling for recovery, which I thought was a very good class. That was from some Walmart executives come in. I mean, they had an industrial psychologist talk to our group on what's going on in our workforce and how reskilling and upskilling, how important that is for not only counties but for the country as well. And so they gave some good direction on that. Then I attended the Rural Action Caucus business meeting, and then my working lunch was a Core Justice Network meeting from 12 to 1:15. And then we had our Western Interstate Region board meeting that I attended. Randy Delbert was not able to be there, but that discussion, we had discussions on the PILT, and we had discussions on the National Center for Public Land Use for counties. They're bringing forward some stuff for the national, or for NACO, but also for the counties, for the National Center for Public. What they want to do is form this group in order to do the work of that we're working on with the PILTs, the payment in lieu of taxes. And so we'll probably be hearing about more of that at our next meeting from our state conference part. Then after that meeting was a general session till about 5 o'clock. And this was Saturday. Sunday was attended the Leaving a Lasting Legacy through Power of Strong Leadership, and then 10:30 to 11:45 was the revitalization of county's health, public and safety, and legal. Then after lunch was the NACO Achievement Awards. Well, excuse me, that was lunch from 12 to 2 for the NACO Achievement Awards. And then Sunday, we did the 3-hour mobile workshop for the first village mobile tour. And then on Monday, I did the NACO annual business meeting and elections. Mary Jo McGuire moved up to the new president. And then we also attended the Western Region Caucus meeting. Like I said, and then after that was the Breaking the Stigma, Empowering Mental Health Champions in not only in your county, but in your community. And that was one of the ones that me and Gary both attended on that one too. And it was called Mental Health 101, or Being Prepared is what it was. And it was some great discussion. I think one of the stories that stuck in my mind that the presenters stated was she brought up a story about an employee who, how often that we walk by people and go, "How are you doing?" And they go, "Fine." And that's all the further you go. And she brought up about how an employee had multiple stresses going on, but not only at home, but at work and some other ones. And just how taking the time to really ask more questions on how the people are doing really made a difference, and how they talked to an employee and actually sat down with them and said, "What's going on?" And they explained it, and they said, "How can we work through this? We'll take one thing at a time." And so they focused on working on those one problems at a time and reduced the stress for that employee to bring them back into a calm effect. I'm saying calm effect, but to ease the stress. And part of that is, you can call it mental health or whatnot, but I think that was the real big takeaway of that one was not to be so compliant when someone says you can see something going on, and just taking the time to really check and see how they're doing. And so that was the last one of that session. After coming back, I did not go to the community health center. I had a family emergency, and I was not able to make that one. But that's it for my report. Ron.
Mr. Chair, you might mention the youth council
Oh.
that me and you attended.
Yeah. The Youth City Council did come on the 27th, and they toured, I want to think, they toured Bryan's and Care Campus and the city's police department, and they got some input from them, and then they also did the Care Campus as something that they did. And Mr. Roskinek gave a presentation to them on what Pennington County does with the commissioners and some of the stuff that we do. But it's a new youth city council that just took office last month, and they're very excited to move forward and see and they continue to want to see what happens at not only at the city level, but also the county level. So that's why they came and did the tour.
And they also asked, how can we participate in something that Pennington County is involved with? And I said, well, then why don't you get together as a group and discuss the pros and cons of lithium mining, which is, evidently it sounds like that's going to be coming to the area. And so I think one lady says, well, we just love the Black Hills. We don't want nothing to happen to it. And then another one of the group said, well, we need this product to provide worldwide service to, batteries for electric cars. So they really got into it, and I'm anxious to see if they follow up and put a presentation that they can bring to the county on their position as the youth council. I had jury duty, so I didn't make some of these, but I did make the Pennington County Housing Redevelopment. We continued to discuss the conversion to RAD. We had the election of officers, and we got Memorial Park, our unit over by the Civic Center. The elevator's been out of that for quite a while. It's a senior center, and we had a contract with Otis, and they were supposed to complete that in April. We're getting a lot of feedback. We've even reached out to the governor's office. Brian finally wrote a letter to Otis that kind of got their attention. They said, originally they said they just couldn't give us a date. So we're getting ready to look for cancel that contract and just go with another firm. And when we reached out to Otis, explained to them that that's what our intent was. We got somebody's attention, and they said, we'll have parts here in 7 to 10 days. So I don't know where that's at, but anyhow, it's pretty critical that we get get that elevator going. That's all I got.
Thanks, Ron. Deb?
Ron explained it. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
It looks like we got about 20 minutes till start of that. We could,
Move to recess until 10:30.
Second.
been moved and seconded to recess till 10:30. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're recessed to 10:30.
Move to come out of recess.
Second.
Moved and seconded to come out of recess. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. This is going to bring us to items from planning and zoning. Board of Adjustments. I'd look for a motion to go into Board of
So
Adjustments.
move.
Second.
Moved by Laster, or Drew, second by Laster, to go into a Board of Adjustments. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Recognize Brittany.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. Chairman, I would ask that we consider 12, 13, or these three items together because they're all on lots and they all have similar requirements. So if that's agreeable, just so we're not speaking on each one separately,
Okay.
because they all basically are asking for the same request, is for the 8-foot side yard setback for a fourplex.
Okay.
So
Is the commission okay with taking all three items up at the same time?
Yep.
I'd look for that motion.
I so move.
Moved by Drew, second by Laster, to take items
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C all up at the same time. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
okay, Commissioners, items A, B, and C are variances VA 2312, 13, and 14. It's to reduce the side yard setback to allow, it's actually a 2-level, not 2-story multifamily residence. It's a fourplex. The actual height of the fourplexes will be approximately 10 feet. The applicant is here and he does have a visual that he can show you to see what the fourplexes will look like. Will have a main floor and a basement. These are located off on Knuckle Duster Road in the Murphy Ranch subdivision. Each lot is approximately 0.3 acres. When considering variances, we look at a two-pronged approach. The items are on the screen. The staff did not find any special conditions on the property that would excuse a literal enforcement of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. However, if the Board of Adjustment disagrees and approves the request, staff recommends 3 conditions be included. This is the location of the property. There's lot A, B, and C. Each one of these lots will have a fourplex on it. The current Section 303R multifamily requirement is for a 12-foot setback on the sides, so it'd be each of these sides. All of these are zoned suburban residential also. These single-family residences do have 8-foot side yard setbacks, so just for an idea. These 2 lots that are closest to these are both developed currently, and the structures are a pretty significant distance from the lot lines. So
Mr.
I
Chair.
entertain any questions.
Are you done, Brittany?
Yes.
Mr. Laster?
Brittany, did you say so the setbacks are supposed to be how many for these particular
12
lots?
feet.
12 feet, but then the community that's right across the street there, those are all 8 foot?
Yes,
Did they all
so,
get a variance, or how did that
no,
work out?
so for single-family residences, they're 8 feet for a side yard setback. For multifamily, it's 12 foot. It's been like that in our ordinance for several years.
I just want to make sure I understand why the,
Yes, that's the requirement.
Chairman,
Ms. Hadcock.
so why is a single 8 and a multi 12?
I believe it's to reduce the distance because of the density of the multifamilies. Because even with apartment homes, whether they're fourplexes, duplexes, apartments, they have that 12-foot, and then it goes to 16 feet and 20 feet, the more stories that are.
Okay, and is there any other double-story, single-family homes in the area?
There are, most of these are split-level or two-story homes in Murphy Ranch.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Chair.
right next door to this is,
This, both of these, I believe, are ranch-style homes.
okay,
But the most of these that are within the Murphy Ranch are those like split-level, two-story type homes. So the height, if you're like, as far as height, I would say that these ones are probably going to be higher. These ones are going to be more indicative of what a ranch-style home would look like. They do have a basement with a walkout.
so why the denial from the staff?
Just because
Because
the
it's a variance?
variances.
Okay. And the two-story doesn't cause any issues in this area with the drainage or anything else?
No, there is a drainage easement on the rear of the lot. Our county highway and the city of Rapid City both reviewed and approved the drainage improvements on the rear.
Okay, and we walked that, and he cleared the areas that he had filled in before that were supposed to be inlets to drain into the ditch?
There is some inlets here, I believe, on this backside because it comes down and then it comes out.
Okay, so what I've seen in this area is when they built these houses out here, and more talking to your developer, you guys ended up taking the swells out of the backyards that actually drained and flattened the yards and had those developments drain into the drainage ditches. So in the future, I hope we can look and make sure when they're building that they are not taking the swells out of those backyards that actually make a difference for that drainage, because a lot of the people came in this whole district that were saying that the drainage was the issue, and actually was the development when they were building them, and the people telling the developers to take that swell out, or the developer not saying that drainage is why that berm or whatever in the area of their backyard is put. So anyway, just food for thought.
Okay, and I neglected to start this out, right? I'm going to go back before I go to you, Mr. Drew. For members of the public, for the next half of the planning commission meetings, speaker request forms is required. So if you want to speak on any items from here to the end of the agenda, please fill out a speaker request form at the back of the room and turn it into Holly Henny's. And we are taking up, I seen some people coming a little late, we are taking up the Board of Adjustment hearings for items A, B, and C all at once. So if there's a member of the public that would like to speak on any item on the agenda, please fill out a speaker request form. Thank you.
Chairman, I have one more question for Brittany.
Ms. Hadcock.
He already platted this like it is with the city of Rapid City.
Correct. It was filed last month with the city.
So, and that's without the variances, and they,
Right, they just platted the lots. The Rapid Valley Sanitary District has already provided utilities, so there's water and sewer for the fourplexes to each of the lots, and the road district approved the approaches.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Drews.
So, Brittany, my question is relative to the staff recommendation of denial. So is the staff of the opinion that he could accomplish what he wants to do without the variances?
That is correct. The requirement is because of the width of the double car garages and the small storage unit on the outside.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Scott?
Yes.
Okay. The applicant?
I'd like Brittany to clarify too about the setback requirement for a detached garage is 8 foot, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, but these are all attached.
Yeah, so if it's a detached garage, it could be within the 8 foot, or at the 8 foot setback.
If it's detached from the multifamily, is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah,
asking? A detached garage would be an 8-foot setback to the side yard in a suburban residential district. The issue that you're going to have is on these lots, you can't have an accessory structure in the front yard on a lot less than 1 acre. So if it's detached in the front, then you wouldn't be meeting that requirement.
okay.
So,
So she's correct that I can meet the requirement by making these garages 4 foot narrower, but I'm afraid that they're gonna make them look cheaper by having a 20-foot wide garage instead of a 24-foot wide garage. And I want it to blend with the other houses in the neighborhood, and there are no small garages. They're all the 24-foot or larger. So that's why I'm asking for the variance, is more for it to blend with the surrounding houses.
Scott, it looked like you had some pictures to show or something.
Yeah. I just wanted to kind of show, this is what the elevation would be like in the back, where it's just got a garden view with windows, and then this is what they actually look like in the front. I built a couple of these out in Box Elder. And I used to do this style here. I did this in the county, but it's all single car garages, this style. And there again, it doesn't really fit with this neighborhood that I'm building these in. So that's why I want to put the larger 24-foot wide garages on them. And I could shove them in a little bit, but then the entryways become very narrow and claustrophobic. So I'm just trying to put out a nice product.
Okay. Is there any questions from commissioners to Scott? You can do you have some more you want to share?
No, that's it. But any questions, I'm more than happy to answer for you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Lester.
in our packet, one of the neighbors disagrees with this. Have you spoken with that neighbor about his concerns?
About the variance, or
Yeah, getting closer to the property line.
I don't even know where he hasn't reached out to talk to me. I have no idea where they live.
it was in the packet that I emailed. It is, oops,
Southern property.
yes, it is this property.
Okay. No, I have not spoke with him.
A lot of times when we hear these, and Mr. Chair, if you don't mind me continuing, we hear them, and if there's a reason for the variance, we'll grant a variance, or if there's no, individuals who disagree with it, sometimes we'll approve or not approve, depending on all the situations. But I think with an individual who has stated he's against it, because now you're getting closer to his piece of property, which, he's understanding that there's going to be setbacks, and then asking for a variance, I would encourage first an engagement with that neighbor to see if you can come together and have that conversation before doing that, because now you're pushing in closer to somebody else's home with higher density.
And something else I spoke with Brittany about is maybe allowing the lots, the common lots between A and B and B and C, allow the variance there, but not on the outer edge of C and the outer edge of A. That would affect the other neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense, the middle ones, because you're already dealing with the middle. The outer ones, that's the ones that I'm more concerned with at this particular point in time.
Maybe we need to continue it, Travis.
Yeah. I'm in the mood to continue it, but since I've been talking, I can't do that just yet.
Scott, is that something you want to check with the property?
Well, if you want to approve the interiors, I'm perfectly fine with that, and I can shift the buildings a little bit to get that to work. If you had approved the interior lot lines to the 8 foot and not the exterior of A and B.
Mr. Chair.
I'm going to get some clarification on that before I go to you, Ron. Brittany, he's talking about the variance on the middle lot, approving that, then he could do the plans to adjust to get the other two into ordinance. Am I correct, Scott, by saying that?
Well, it'd be half of one lot line on A, both on B, and one on C, but not both of them on A and C. So
Right.
the north one on A would not be allowed, and this south one on C would not be
Oh,
allowed.
I see, on this, on the outer skirts, not allowed there, but on the interior for all three would have to be,
Right, so your motion could be for A, that you just approve the variance for the southernmost lot line. For B, you would approve the variance because it would be both lot lines, and then C, you would just approve the north lot line. The setback to that north lot line.
and you,
So if you wanted to, if that was your choice.
okay, so now I'm gonna, does everybody understand that
Yep.
process? Mr. Drews?
So Brittany, if we did that, would the staff remove their recommendation to denial at that point?
I believe the reason for the 12-foot setback is for, the separation of density between neighbors. They all, the fire lane, typically, the reason why they have wider setbacks on higher story buildings is for the fire lane because of the equipment that needs to get in. Because these are one-story buildings, it shouldn't be an issue. The interior lot lines would, if they're the 8-foot setback, it would only impact these units and not
Right.
the two neighbors.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Mr. Roskinet?
My question was, are those three lots, are they owned by the same entity?
Yeah, they're all owned by me, and I plan on building them, keeping them there for rentals for
So
my,
I'm just trying to figure out what would happen if you just reconfigured that plat so you only had one lot and you didn't have those lot lines.
well, that's the way it was originally, but financing reasons,
Okay.
I can't afford to build all three of them at the same time. And the bank wouldn't let me do that. They want individual legal descriptions for each building. And then financing, it makes it financeable for anybody as a secondary home, if they want to buy them.
Sure.
Okay. I don't have any speaker request forms on this item. So it sounds to me like there may be a compromise to readjust those lines. Now, Brittany, would that be better to bring back at the next meeting with the changes, or would you be able to word those motions, each one separately?
I believe that continuing wouldn't change anything. The way that was advertised was just to reduce the setback.
Okay.
So if you make the motion each individually on each item for what setbacks you're going to approve or not approve, I think that would be okay.
Okay, so Scott, you're okay with this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Mr. Laster, does that meet your requirements of the,
Based on the concerns that I read, I think so.
okay. So what I'll do is I'll take no other comments. I'd ask Brittany for the motion.
So
For A,
the motion for A was that you would approve the variance to reduce the side yard setback to the north property line.
okay.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Drews.
Wait.
Yeah, to allow it to the south.
Oh, so to allow it to the south, sorry.
The south.
Yes.
It was moved by Drews and seconded by Laster. Any further discussion?
Chairman,
Ms. Hadcock?
I'd like to see this and talk a little bit more about it before I decide today. So for me, I'm not against you in one sense, but I'm not just gonna do it on the fly, because I'm not understanding everything on it. And I don't think continuing it would be a bad thing at this point because of the neighbor and some other issues that are going on in that neighborhood. So I won't be voting for that, not because you're doing anything wrong, sir. I just need more information.
And I don't know if the plot plan showing where the structures actually sit on the lots would help you, because Brittany has that right there.
I just think continuing it for 2 weeks is good, just to,
Okay.
actually, I would meet with you to make sure, and probably with Jason or Brittany, and then confirm kind of what you're doing, so I have an understanding I understand lot lines and stuff. I kind of like to see your buildings and your stuff that you have there again.
So right now, we do have a motion on the floor for the south lot line exception.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Laster?
I just want to make sure that the other three conditions outside of what we said, the setback is only to 8 feet, and the applicant obtains an approved building permit prior to construction and adheres to building inspection requirements is still part of this motion.
Would be.
Yes, the three requirements. The motion maker agreed with that, and seconders, okay, yes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
1 no. Item B,
So item B, you would approve, you would take the alternate recommendation. So you would just approve the side yard setback to be no less than 8 feet because B is on the interior.
what's on the interior? So is there a motion
I'd make that as a motion.
moved by Drews?
So, Mr. Chair, if I got that
I
right,
need, I
then
need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, second for discussion, Mr. Roskinek.
So then the setback for the item B would be 8 feet to the north property line and 8 feet to the south?
Correct.
Okay,
With the,
from 12, from the,
From 12, and it would be no less than 8 feet, and then
Okay.
with the 3 conditions.
yep, exactly with the 3 conditions. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries with 1 no. Item C,
And then item C would be that you would approve the variance to the north lot line
with the 3 conditions.
with the 3 conditions.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Drews,
second?
seconded by Roskinek. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries with 1 no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I'd look for motion to adjourn as,
So moved. Motion to adjourn as
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment.
Moved by Lassiter,
Second.
seconded by Drews. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, we come to our consent agenda, and I'll turn it over to Brittany.
All right. The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following 4 items. Item D is Major Plan Unit Development Amendment Review, PU 15-02 for the Deerfield Park condominiums, and the applicant is the Council of Co-Owners, and the Planning Commission recommended approval of the review of Major Plan Unit Development Amendment PU 1502 with 13 conditions. Item E is road naming for Preston Ranch Inc., John Preston, to name a 40-foot wide access easement that provides access to 5 or 6 future lots located off of South Highway 79 to Blue Heron Road. And the Planning Commission and Emergency 911 both approved and recommended approval of road name of Blue Heron Road. Item F is road naming for Preston Family Inc., John Preston, to name a 40-foot wide access easement that provides access to one existing lot located off South 79 to Porcupine Road. Planning Commission and Emergency Services 911 recommended approval of road name of Porcupine Road. And finally, item G is road naming for Preston Family Inc., John Preston, to name a 40-foot wide access easement that provides access to 5 future lots located off South 79 to Marmot Road. Planning Commission and Emergency Services 911 both recommended approval of the road name of Marmot Road.
Thank you, Brittany. At this time, is there any member of the public who wishes to have any of these items pulled from the consent agenda? See none, is there any from the commission who'd like to see any of these items pulled from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
move to approve the planning consent agenda as presented.
Moved by Roskinek,
Second.
seconded by Drews. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we come to contested hearings.
Megan Talmadge,
Megan.
planner. Agenda item H is Major Plan Unit Development Amendment PU 23-07, and is to amend an existing planned unit development to allow an additional recreational vehicle site on the subject property. The applicant is Black Elk Resort, owned by Daniel Roth. The location is 12720 South Highway 16, and the lot size is 4.82 acres. Current zoning is planned unit development, existing land use is campground. There is 100-year floodplain on the property. Staff recommends approval of major planned unit development PU 23-07 with 25 conditions with planning commission's concurrence. The changes to the planned unit development does go a little bit beyond the recreational vehicles site. It also includes removing the fourplex that was previously approved, as currently there is a garage in that location that now exists as a laundry facility. And the septic capacity did not allow for the campsites with the new RV site, so we removed the campsites from the planned unit development also. Are there any questions?
Is there any,
Sure.
Mr.
The
Roski?
only real discussion that the planning commission had was concerns with fire pits, and I don't even know if this campground has fire pits, but anyhow, we were all in favor of the request.
Is there any further questions for Megan? Seeing none. I do have two speaker request forms, but that's for 17J.
Yep, that's not
Okay.
this one.
Yep. Just clarifying. Sometimes I can't read writing, so
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
move to approve major plan unit development amendment PU 23-07 with 25 conditions.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Laster to approve this. Any public comment? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Right. Agenda item I is Comprehensive Plan Amendment CA 23-06, and it is to change the future land use from rural residential district to low-density residential district. The applicant is Adam and Sharon Weaver. Their agent is Sarah Cheddar. This is located at 2367 9 Straddle Rim Drive, and it will affect 0.74 acre of the overall property. The current zoning is rural residential and the existing land use is residential. There is no flood hazard on the property. The applicant has applied for the rezone and comprehensive plan concurrently, and it's located within Rapid City's 3-mile plating jurisdiction. The preliminary subdivision plan through the city of Rapid City does not include improvements to Aeronauts Way, and per Pennington County Ordinance 14 standards, the minimum width of an easement serving more than 2 lots is 66 feet, and the minimum road width must be 25 feet. Staff has not received any comments from the Straddle Rim Road District, and because of the road conditions, staff recommends to deny without prejudice. There was further discussion with the planning commission on this one, on whether this lot size would be acceptable even with the road improvements. And I believe that we were looking for further direction with that.
Thanks, Megan. The applicant is here, correct? Do you want to speak on this? The recommendation is to deny without prejudice, but I want to give you the time.
For those of you who haven't met me yet, I am Sarah Cheddar. I am the agent for homeowner Adam Weaver. This has kind of been evolving, as some people may or may not know, of how we need to seek guidance on this. So we did sit down with the planning, or with Megan, on the direction in the last meeting to try and figure out some alternative ideas, which we did come up with, of possibly granting either a road easement, or it was brought up for a caregiver unit. Which is exactly what we're searching for, is a caregiver unit. I know that there was discussion at the end of the caregiver to subdivide off the property anyway, which obviously subdividing off a portion of the property isn't an issue. We're just trying to figure out what the best avenue is without having to come back here again and again and again and seeking guidance from you as to what is acceptable. What questions do you have for us?
Well, so Sarah, thanks for clarifying what's happening. So are you guys okay with the deny without prejudice? That means you could work on those items and bring a solution back that's more acceptable?
Well, we're trying to figure out what that solution is. So when we
Yes.
sat down with Ms. Talmadge at that next meeting, those were a couple of them. So now we're trying to figure out if any of those are acceptable to whoever does make the decision.
Mr. Chair.
I think Megan was going to comment real quick.
If
Megan and I sat down.
Oh.
We're trying to find a compromise here.
Okay.
We don't think the rezone and the change the comprehensive plan's the right avenue. But one thing that we looked at would be, instead of the 0.74 acres, have a 3-acre lot and a 2.8 acre lot, which would be below the 3, but it'd be easier for us to accept a lot size variance opposed to a rezone or change in the comprehensive plan. So that's kind of where we're at now. That would be the compromise that we'd like to bring to the table.
Yep, the lot size variance would also be more favorable because of the plating jurisdiction. If we were to do the comp plan and have the low-density residential within the zoning ordinance, they could subdivide to that 0.5 acre. So, although I still I'm not sure if we would be able to recommend the lot size variance, but it's an avenue that we can take.
So Sarah, from the sounds of it, it's a good recommendation to deny without prejudice. That means you can come back. You could work on some things and you don't have to repay everything. You just,
Okay. I'm gonna let Adam speak on that.
okay. Adam.
Yeah, so kind of.
Adam, you need to identify yourself for that record.
Adam Weaver,
Okay.
person here, I guess. Yeah, so I realized from your seat there, because I've sat on some pretty large national boards before, and I understand this is coming to you and it's new, but for us, we've been working on this for 9 months. So we started when my wife got pregnant. Now we have a baby, so it's actually back there. But I mean, so this is quite a long time, and kind of we went to the planning meeting, and we had the same discussion where we're going to work on something, and the two things that we came up with Megan was either to leave the lot size as it is drawn here and increase the width of the easement to that lot to meet the road requirements, or to build a caregiver unit on the property. And either one of those things I'm fine with. As far as the option of splitting the lot into 3-ish acre pieces, that's less viable for us because we're giving this away, right? So if we split this off, we're giving 0.77 acres away for free. And so we're not selling that. So 3 acres of land in this area is worth, approximately $250,000. And so giving away $250,000 is significantly different for a small family than giving away 0.77 acres, which is what makes that less viable, to us. The caregiver thing, which is actually what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a house, so Sharon's parents who are aging can take care of our baby while it's a baby, and then her parents, one of them is already 75. As they get older, they'll be, nearby, so we can help them in that period of their life. So that's actually what we're doing, is the caregiver thing. And so I don't know if that's palatable to you folks. There was some stuff brought up about that there's a requirement for it to be a temporary home, and then once that is done, that land must be parceled off, which is what we're trying to do anyway, or torn down. And so we're trying to build a stick-built home, and so there were some things about that not being temporary, but I think in the neighborhood that we're in, putting in a temporary structure would be extremely unpalatable to our neighbors and to ourselves. We don't want a trailer house, no offense to the people who have them in our neighborhood, So I think if we're okay with building a stick-built home with the understanding that we have to, whenever her parents pass away or something in the future, parcel that land off, we're okay with that. So I'm not sure if we're willing to foot that expense, now and in the future, why the county would have a problem with that.
Megan.
With the caregiver's residence, the main issue with that is as they have previously been conditioned, is either to remove the structure from the property or to split the property. That condition has not always been followed through. We're finding them from, the 1990s, all of that. So, which is why we have changed the ordinance for the structure to be temporary in nature. The stick built isn't temporary in nature, so I don't, after revisiting the drawing board, I don't believe that is a viable option either.
So Adam, just listening to this whole thing, I think the motion that's recommended to deny without prejudice is probably a good one right now, because you're trying to make the commission make a decision today. And if they go with what's in front of them, there's no possible, I can't say what would happen, but that's,
Right, I guess what we're looking for from you folks is a suggestion of some sorts as to which direction we should go, because the funding suggestion the planning commission gave us, and now we're back kind of in the same boat we were in 2 weeks ago, so and we're months into this process, and I think that a little bit of this has to deal with, the process should not be such a process that the people who, the commission I know is like well-meaning to serve are like so afraid to come talk to the county they just don't do anything. And we've talked to every person in our neighborhood. And to be honest with you guys, and I mentioned this to the planning commission, every single person in our neighborhood is for this project. They're okay with it. We've talked to every neighbor we have in the whole subdivision. No one has a problem with it. But everyone has basically told us that the county was impossible to work with. Not Megan specifically. I mean, Megan's great, but the county was so impossible to work with that that there's no hope for us. And I think that's not what is intended by the actions. It's just that we just need someone to say, you guys should do this, and we'll do that. But we can't keep on the hamster wheel here a little bit, and hopefully I've explained why the cutting in half thing is not really viable.
So Chairman,
Ms. Hadcock.
so on the analysis, it says the applicant has applied for their comprehensive plan amendment. The property is located within the 3-mile planning jurisdiction. The applicant, the city of Rapid City, has no objections to the request. Preliminary subdivision plan does not include, okay, it also says that the Stratabo, which is the neighbors and stuff in this packet, are not objecting to this. So Megan, you can't, and we can't make that a temporary caregivers. It doesn't fit the definition.
It doesn't.
What is the definition?
A caregiver's residence is a temporary in nature building that is in place to give care.
Okay, and that's what they're saying they want to do?
Yes.
Okay, but we can't do that?
A temporary building would be something like a single wide or double wide mobile home that can be removed from the property easily. A stick built is a little bit harder to remove if it comes down to that.
I guess I would offer that, I don't think there's a definition for the word temporary, is there, like specifically written? Because my home, which is of one of the highest building grades, is definitely temporary as well. None of our homes will be there forever. And, at work, we just tore down a pretty large building in about 36 hours. So, I mean, I don't think that, I'm hoping that, when Sharon's parents pass away someday, that we will parcel this off and whatever will happen, because it's silly to tear a house down. But we're willing to do that 20 years from now, and it's our money, not the county's money, to do so if we have to. So.
Adam, do you have more questions for Megan?
Yeah, you just talked to Jason and Brittany. What?
So the term temporary is, it is defined. Or is it in those amendments that were just approved?
Yep, so we do define temporary in our zoning ordinance. As it applies to a caretaker residence, temporary in nature means something that's easily removed from the property.
Okay.
It's not a stick-built structure. It's typically a mobile home of some sort that can be removed from that property at that time. Now, we can go through a lot of options up here for these folks to see what we want to do, but I think if probably to deny without prejudice is the appropriate thing to do, so that we can meet with them afterwards and go through.
Do they have to go through the planning commission again?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, why I'm saying that is they went through this process, Jason, and might not be any of your guys' fault the last 9 months. Is there, Mr. Weaver, can you put a double wide on there instead of a stick built? Can you follow the directions of the temporary at this point, since you want to do caregivers or something else with it in order to meet the requirement?
I'm going to somewhat speak on that, because what we did, and I don't know if you have the packet with you that we sent out to everybody. I mean, we even took, when we walked and talked to all the homeowners themselves, we even took the plans. And where we kind of got those plans from was we've tried going down the ADU route. We've tried going down the mother-in-law route. So we picked a structure that was more than 700 square feet, less than 1,000 square feet as a footprint. We had taken that to all the folks. I'm with Adam that we would have to go back to the neighbors. That's not fair to them because that's not what we showed them that we were after going for in the beginning.
Right. I'm just trying to find you some solution
No, I
here
know.
today.
I'm just.
Yeah, and just to follow up real quick, I guess what I'm trying to say is easily removed, if that's the honors we want to make. I think with the technology of today, this home that we're building could be removed very easily. It would just be expensive on my part to do so because we'd have to hire a piece of machinery that can move it rapidly. And I don't know if there's a time period at which it would have to be removed, but you could do that. It would just be destroyed, not moved. It would be.
Which means, Adam, it's probably not going to be destroyed. Something else will go forward and you'll go through a process again. Not trying to be mean, but.
Well, no, I'm saying,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that the process, there's like, if having to come back and go through this process again, in the future, is the understanding that we're taking, but again, and that's really our expense, not the county's at that point. We're going to have to go through this again, and that's going to cost me more irritation and money, I'm sure. But right now, we're just trying to take care of our small child and elderly people. So, I mean, at that point, the kid will be old, and maybe I'll be retired and have time to come down here every day.
Adam, 9 months is a long time, so either you change some of the plans or something, because at this point, they're trying to find solution with you guys, with the planning department, and it usually doesn't take 9 months unless the applicant is changing or wants something that they can't do. So that's what I've seen in the past, so I'm gonna say, a lot of times, it doesn't have to do with the planning department, it has to do with the plans.
And the plans have been the same since the beginning. Unfortunately, where this started was I had walked down, talked to 3 of the planners down at the planning department, was told after no less than a 45-minute conversation that it was a half-acre lot, I didn't need to get it rezoned. So then we went to the city and started with that. It wasn't until I came back to turn in the paperwork that they said, oh, I'm sorry, we told you it was the wrong zoning. So that's where a couple of months were lost, and there was getting misinformation from where we were trying to start out in the first place. So it's on both, and then it was guidance of, okay, it started as a half-acre lot. Well, let's make it more viable to do 0.7 to see if we could subdivide it off. Do we think this is gonna go? Do we need to go bigger? Nope, go with that. Let's see what it's gonna be. So this is.
So could I ask you, ma'am?
Yes.
So you did this at the front desk and you didn't meet with them personally first?
No, because I walked down there and I actually met with Megan, and there was another gentleman that was there and one other person. They even opened the book and made statements such as, oh, this is a learning process for all of us. So I didn't know that I had to make a specific meeting. I assumed that walking to the desk to get the information from the folks who give me the information, or if had they have told me, hey, we need to have a separate meeting for this, I would have gladly gone.
Well, I'll be up straight. They'll give you the information. They'll do what they can at the beginning if you're at the front desk. But when they meet with you personally and they have to figure it out, that's when they start seeing all the issues and what's going on. So to meet at a front desk, it's kind of like us making a decision today. We think it looks really good until we have all the information. So.
And I would have done that had it have been given to me as option. It wasn't told, hey, we meet individually with you. Can we meet with you? Otherwise.
Well, I'll give you some advice. You probably want to deny without prejudice again, and yes, that's going to get you more where you need to go. And now that we know about it, maybe we can help on the backside with some of the issues that we're not understanding, because a lot of times I'll continue stuff or deny without prejudice because I don't have a total understanding.
Absolutely.
Not because you did anything wrong. Right. And yes, Adam, it's frustrating. My husband builds, so it's not just here, it's cities and counties all over the United States with this, because a lot of times we find out, we thought we knew what you wanted, but in the long run, it's not allowable. So I think Megan is a good planner, and I think at this time I would deny without prejudice and then move forward on it. And then when it comes to us, I personally, I can't speak for the commission, will go out before I come here and meet with you and your planner and make sure we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. And I think,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Laster.
I'd move to deny without prejudice Comprehensive Plan Amendment CA 2306.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Hadcock to deny without prejudice for item CA 2306. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Laster.
I did that so that you could have the opportunity to go back work out some plans with planning staff so you can come faster. Because if we just deny it, then you can't come back for a year on something like this. If we deny it without prejudice and start working together, we can maybe get something moving pretty quick, rather than trying to keep pushing this off every 2 weeks, until we come up with something. This way you can just start with a clean slate, and then it doesn't charge you all the extra funds for doing it that way. So that's the reason why.
Thank you. And I tend to agree. Megan, did you have one comment before?
So I wanted to clarify that staff's, with this particular comprehensive plan and amendment, the lot size is fine with our office, especially with the low-density residential. It's just the road. So I wanted clarification as to whether the Board of Commissioners would want the road improvements versus the larger lot size.
That's a good point, Megan, because that is the biggest part of this item on here is then they'd have to have a variance for not improving the road to 14 standards also.
It's my understanding that they actually want to improve the road.
They do.
Sure.
Mr. Lester.
Has there not been any, from what I understood, reading in here, there's been no conversation with the road district, maybe because the road district hasn't called them back. I mean, how does that work when you get to that point?
Sorry, Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. This is in the 3-mile plating jurisdiction, so the road improvements get waived by the city because of the plating. So that's where this is difficult, because if the city waives the road improvements, but the road improvements don't meet our zoning requirements. So that was some of the concern, the discussion during the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission was not comfortable with that size of lot. They would have liked to see the lot actually extended up to strata rim and then the access taken off a strata rim. That was some of the discussion during the Planning Commission meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that for the road improvements, because that's where staff's recommendation came from, was that the road improvements and the access wasn't to the standards required for that zoning district.
So that's something that the site visit and the commissioners can check on when it comes back.
Right, and like I said, Strata Rim is a paved road, and there was discussion about having the lot size a little bit larger and actually taking access off of Strata Rim, and then those road improvements wouldn't be an issue for that lot size, so.
Okay, is everybody clear?
Bad for his 3-mile limit.
Adam?
Just for clarification on that, yeah, so we're happy to make the road bigger or whatever. I think you saw that picture of the before, that nice green field. I think building a road parallel to a current road in a green field would be kind of silly, and also I think our neighbors would also be like, "What are you guys doing? You're building a road next to a road." but making Aeronauts Way larger or paved or up to whatever is wanted is we're fine with that. And we talked to Megan also about making the easement on Aeronauts Way that's on our property already, whatever size is required for those rules. So as far as the road access, that's kind of a non-issue, I think, between us and the staff office there. We'll do whatever the road needs to be, whatever they ask for. It's fine.
Adam, I think at this time, the commission, we do have a motion on the floor. But I'll recognize Ms. Hadcock one more time.
So Adam, your first clue is you're in the 3-mile limit, so you're going back and forth with city and county, and that's probably why it took you longer as well. That kind of summed it up, because the road improvements through the city are done there, the plating's done there, so you keep going back and forth trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, and that's what our staff is doing the same thing with them. So what they don't know, and if it's not been approved or not approved or waived from the city, then that's how they determine what's going to happen on your property next as well, in order to protect the county. But I'll just tell you, in the 3-mile jurisdiction, this has been a problem. I used to be at the city, has been a problem since, 16 years or whatever. So no fault of the planning or the city. It just needs to be something that, unfortunately, you got stuck in the middle of. My husband also, again, builds, and it's a problem trying to work between both and keep going back and forth until you got that solution. But yeah, I'll still help.
Okay. We do have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to J. Megan, and they're both the same related.
Yep. This agenda item J is the rezone for the 0.74 acre of the rural residential to the low-density residential on the same property.
Okay. Commissioners, do you want to deny this one without prejudice also? Until more time gets, and information gets
That
worked
only
out?
makes sense.
That'd be my motion.
Moved by Hadcock, seconded by Lassiter, to deny without prejudice the rezone 2309. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Hopefully, we can get something worked out. At least now it's up in front of the commission, and we've got all the information one of us we have, and so we can research it also. Thank you, Megan.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Laster.
per item number 20, move to go into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2-1 for personnel matters.
Moved by Lassiter,
Second.
seconded by Roskinek to go into executive session for personal issue per SDCL 1-25-21. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay. Mr. Roskinek.
Move to come out of executive session.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Laster to come out of executive session. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Mr. Roskinek.
Mr. Chair, move to place Mark Hughes at L6, Step 6, 4,340 bi-weekly, effective July 23rd, 2023.
Second.
Moved by Roskinek, seconded by Hadcock. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Hadcock to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries, we're adjourned.